Yeah, so we're in this awesome place with this awesome fire, this house. I wanted maybe first if you could tell me a little bit about your background, just a bit about where you came from, your dad, that sort of, those sort of things, and then maybe if you want, just go from there and tell us about where we are, where you've ended
Well,
up.
I'm a San Diego native. My father was born in San Diego. His father was born in San Diego, and grew up in several different homes in San Diego. As basically, my father was a Major League Baseball player, and every time he would win the World Series and get a bonus, we would upgrade our house. And so we ended up actually in Pacific Beach, and during my formative years, I would say, and had a great time living by the beach. I went to a very casual high school, and was a swimmer and water polo player and surfer, and just had a great time. Very fun childhood. Never got in any trouble. Never got caught anyway, but had a great time. But anyway, so now decades later, here I am living in this wonderful cabin in Del Mar near the beach in a cedar. It's a cedar chalet basically with a beach view. So it's very cozy, very airy in the summertime and very cozy in the wintertime, which I think a lot of people would argue that San Diego doesn't have winter. But I live here with my wife Angela, and we are the executive directors of a performing arts academy where we teach ballet and musical theater, and we have a youth ballet company, and we produce productions and do shows and ballets and theater shows. So we basically have a lot of fun.
Would you say you've lived a charmed life?
Absolutely charmed life, yes. Growing up in the 50s and 60s and 70s with a father who was a professional athlete, that very successful yet low key. We were still a very private family. I have three brothers, and we just did a lot of fun things. My father was not available to go do things when it was baseball season because he had to be at every game, and there were no days off really during the summer. And we always would leave San Diego to go wherever he was playing in the Midwest or in the East. And so my mother was very good at rounding us up and taking us out to have experiences while my father was on the road. So we did a lot of things with our mother, which I think probably was really good for our upbringing, because really only one of my brothers went into baseball, and he's very successful in his own right. But we aren't just a bunch of jocks. We're all different. All four of us are completely different. And I turned out to be, I think, the artist and the creative one in the family. And so this house is my canvas, and I spend a lot of time doing woodworking to improve our environment at our little domicile here.
Would you say you're a typical, if there is such a thing, are you a typical Californian?
I don't think I'm typical, but I definitely, I think, embody the relaxed part of being in California, because I know my wonderful wife Angela is from New York, and they definitely have a different approach to life. There's a little, not good or bad, but just a little more, I don't know if I want to call it serious. It could be serious.
Do you have a motto, words you live by?
Well, happy, happy, joy, joy is something that comes out of me quite often, and also no matter what.
Well, what do you mean? I mean, I know obviously what you mean when you say happy, happy, joy, joy, but what do you mean?
Well, life presents its contrasts and its challenges, and in spite of all that, Angela and I work very, very well at finding the bright side, going after it in joy, in happiness, in appreciation for what we do get to experience, get to have, get to do. Whereas I know, I've run into a lot of people who let these challenges completely change who they are in that moment. And I don't think that happens around here very much. No matter what comes at us, we, still go get up every morning happy to be here, happy to go on and do what we need to do, even though a lot of times it's not hanging out here and just enjoying, what it is we've created here, but we have to go off and take care of things, take care of business.
What is your idea of perfect happiness?
Oh, perfect happiness. There's lots of scenarios that I can think of that are perfect happiness, but I feel perfect happiness like, say, at the end of a production, like, say, at the last day of doing the Nutcracker Ballet, when we've, you go into it, and it's pretty daunting sometimes, the list of details that need to be taken care of, but the show must go on, and it always does, and when it's over, there's definitely a satisfaction and a relief that where you can really just celebrate that we did something really beautiful, and then that's one end of the spectrum, and then the other end of the spectrum is perfect happiness is sitting on the beach under an umbrella, listening to some music with my wife, and having a cold beer, and just with my legs stretched out and with not a care in the world. That's something I really look forward to doing, and yeah, I could do that quite often if the world would let me.
What's your most prominent characteristic?
I like to think it's gentle patience.
That's good.
And just good-naturedness.
Which living person do you most admire?
I really like talking about my father, and it's not because he was a baseball player. Those are fun stories, and I've got millions of them, and they're all great stories. But I admire that his example. He sets an example of how to be a good man, a good family man, a good loyal. He's a loyal friend, a loyal family man.
Do you think you recognized it growing up, or you know how sometimes they say, the older I get, the smarter my parents were? Do you think you knew it back then?
Yeah, I've always known it. It started when he used to gather up his four sons. He'd be sitting in a chair, and he's bigger in life. He's 6'5", and he would gather us in his chair and tell us that I love my boys and hug us all at once. And I recognized that right away, that I didn't ever see that anywhere else. I never saw any of my friends' fathers show any kind of affection that way. And it was, yeah, he was always so in charge and respected because he was so good and loving and just such a good guy. Everybody likes my father. And he was very disciplinarian also, but it was done in a loving way that
Right.
was unmistakable.
Nice.
And,
What is your greatest extravagance?
that's a tough one.
It isn't necessarily dollars. You can be extravagant with time, with
Okay, that does put it in perspective. Probably, I think, for a long time now, I've been able to live pretty much without an alarm clock in the morning. I think it's, you look around and people have to be somewhere every morning at a certain time, and you see them hurrying there. But I have definitely deadline times to be. I have to be places, but I've been a self-employed for so long that I've always pretty much designed my life to accommodate easing into my day.
I am so with you on that.
And I think that's an extravagance that most people don't get to experience.
I would agree. I would so agree, yeah.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite hero of fiction?
Could it be a movie character?
Mm-hmm.
The outlaw Josie Wales.
Why?
It was because he was just, through it all, he still kept his power, even though he couldn't protect everything and keep everything that he wanted. He still kept his, he kept his dignity and his badassness, even
right.
though, I just really enjoyed that movie because it's just Clint Eastwood being just the cool, tough guy, but with a huge, giant heart.
Okay. This vlog that we do, we call it Amplified Life.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we do is we ask people who are obviously living an amplified life to maybe define that or talk about living an amplified life.
That's a nice concept, definitely. I like the way that sounds. For me, amplified life is just not being afraid to try new things, and you just go until you're finished. You it doesn't have to be the same day, but you just keep doing what you do, and the results are usually, if you've got the right focus and the right talent to do what you're trying to accomplish, it's really a lot of fun to do it. But definitely, I think there's a lot of risk involved.
In living an amplified life, there's a lot of risk?
Yes, because you have to, I think, from my experience, you have to kind of let go of total security and you have to put it out there and
You think an amplified life has to be a dangerously living life?
not dangerous, just you can't, I don't think you're going to get there unless you stretch yourself.
How's your life? You're pleased with it?
I think I could describe it by saying that I'm stoked every day that I live that day. There's every day seems to come out with satisfaction. I don't think I've gone to bed dissatisfied in a really, really long time.
Jeez. That's pretty amplified, dude. All right.